if you would note that all the commissioners are present with the exception of Commissioner Hamilton.
So moved.
And we've got a number of special guests with us today, and we're going to get around to introducing a number of you. But today, in honor of Commissioner Thompson, we have former Commissioners Bruce Anderson, Joe Cannell, and Pace Robinson with us today. And so glad you all joined us today, and we welcome you back to KUB, where you're always welcome.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I call special attention to Mr. Robinson's outstanding boots?
You all have had the minutes of the November meeting distributed. Does anyone have any changes to those minutes? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second. Food fine.
And all in favor of approving our minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Mentha will give us the president's report.
Commissioners, this is somewhat of an unusual day today. We don't start with official action today. This is a day of celebration. It's the end of a great year here at KUB, and we will end it with a lot of things to celebrate. But we're going to start with recognizing Dave Bolus. You've heard us talk a lot about the city's efforts to convert the street lights to LEDs, and we are today celebrating. The City Council has passed that in their most recent council meeting. I'll recognize Dave to give you the update.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good afternoon, Commissioners. As you know, for the last couple of years, we've been working very closely with the city on the transfer of lights and the convert to LED. And today I want to spend a few minutes just letting you know where that's at, where it's going to happen in 2018, and all the changes that are going to go in Knoxville. So right now, as of today, we maintain 30,000 lights for the city of Knoxville. These include the interstates, the highways, the main thoroughfares of Knoxville, like Kingston Pike and Middlebrook Pike, and all the subdivisions. So we maintain and owned and operated those for, well, since KUB been in existence, and therefore have maintained that in that time. The city's always proposed upgrading those lights to LED, and has worked with us on different ways to do that. And through these talks, we've worked with them on a project to get that done. And you know, why they want to do this is pretty simple. They want to save money, but it's also part of Mayor O'Hara's initiative to reduce their footprint. You know, lights make up a huge part of their bill. 40% of their bill is lighting. And so they have worked really hard on their buildings, their structures, their facilities, reduce that footprint of energy use. But next is the lighting. And so they've earmarked $9.5 million to convert every light in the system. In doing so, they will save about $2 million a year in energy costs. So you can see it's a pretty quick return on their investment. And a lot of that's because the technology's gotten more mature. The lights are a little cheaper than they used to be years ago, and that has helped that process throughout. It also allowed them to hit that goal of 20% reduction by 2020, and this is the last piece of that major pie that they'll hit before 2020. And I've used this picture before. This is actually Wall Avenue. I'm standing on Gay Street looking towards Walnut. To the right is the TVA Towers. To the left is Market Square. You can see the difference in the color and the rendering of the light, how much clearer it is to see, much better it is to see the whole road versus just the glow of the orange glow. And so that's what they're going to go towards as far as the project is concerned. Color rendering has been a topic of discussion. They're going to go with a lot, you know, so somewhere between these two colors. It's not orange, but it's not really true white. It's somewhere in between. And so we worked with them on those lights, and they're actually doing a pilot for the next couple of months to show what that's going to look like to the residents. They have selected a firm. Siemens was not the low bidder, but the best bidder. They worked really hard with us. We actually assisted them with this. We actually helped write the specs. You know, we go through all the details of our, hand them the maps of our lighting system, and really just work with them on the evaluation and interview with the contractors. They are started already in Knoxville doing inventory. They're actually going out to every single light, getting a picture, verifying it's the size and shape and color we told them, and therefore when they start this next spring, they'll have a good basis of a record to start with. They'll have that inspection done this next month. They're hitting it pretty aggressively with a lot of folks, local staff, to do that work. And we have assisted with them. Even as the project begins, we'll be helping them inspect the product they're getting, make sure it's done right, and meets their criteria. So we're going to stay involved even throughout this whole process until it's finished. As I mentioned before, they're actually purchasing the lights from us. So post 2018, we will no longer be owning them, maintaining or operating the lighting system that we know today. They're going to take that over. And while that does reduce our staffing as far as contractors, they will be adding folks. And we actually have given them the names and numbers of the guys and gals who do that work for us today. And they'll transfer that knowledge to those folks. From a long-range plan point of view, financially, it's a wash. What they don't spend on us, they also will talk about giving us money to pop the system, and our reduced labor will offset some of that. So it's a wash in the 10-year plan. But one thing we've always focused up to this point is on the technical side. We've been focused on specs and standards and lights and types and brands and colors and roads and the things. Now it's talking about communication, because really what's going to happen next is, the customer's going to call when the light goes out. And so we are working very closely with 311. Our call center folks have already met with their folks to say, here's how we take a phone call, here's how we distribute it to the crews, here's how we make sure it's logged correctly. And so we'll be continuing that for the next 2 or 3 months, making sure they understand what it takes to identify a light, where's it at, how do we find out what size it is. And so they've already advertised that they're going to be doing this kind of stuff, this type of work. They're going to put it on their website. We're going to put the same thing on our website to point to them. And so, if we get a phone call with a city street light, we'll make sure it gets to the right folks in the city of Knoxville. I mean, we're going to make sure this is as seamless as possible, knowing the customers may be confused initially if they use to the ownership change. We're not out of the lighting business. We still have a lot of lights to maintain. And we continue to maintain a lot of lights for some cities like Blaine, Luttrell, Maynardville, Plainview. UT has lights. Those used to be city lights. They took over the streets. They became city UT lights, so we still have those to maintain and own. We also have a very large private lighting system of 33,000 lights. So while we're selling 30,000 lights, we're still maintaining over 34,000 lights throughout the cities in our service area. So what's occurred the last month or so, on December 5th, last Tuesday, the City Council approved the MOU between us and the city that allows us to sell all these lights and the transfer of ownership ultimately. We received $5.2 million to pay off the stranded costs of the lights. That includes the poles, the wire, the lights themselves, the arms, stuff in Market Square to the neighborhoods, to the interstates. All the lights will be sold to the city of Knoxville. It also includes $400,000 in materials that we have in stock. When they take this system over in April, we'll see, they'll need stuff to make sure that when stuff gets knocked down or broken, they can replace it pretty quickly. So we've agreed to sell within our storeroom to them at $400,000 to allow them to keep the transition to be as smooth as possible. That executed agreement will occur on March 31st. That gives us 3 more months to get through all the details of communication and transactions and handoffs, and we'll continue to work with them throughout the year, actually. They have a pretty aggressive schedule, as you'll see. They're going to start changing out lights in May and finish in 6 months. That's a really aggressive schedule. They have 10 crews simultaneously working throughout Knoxville to change out these lights. It's doable. Siemens has done this in many other cities, so it's not new to them. But it's a pretty aggressive schedule, and they are working very diligently on a communication plan to the customers to let them know, hey, we're in your neighborhood, on your street, much like we do, to make sure everybody knows they're coming to do this work. As I said before, they are doing pilots right now in 16 areas in Knoxville. They're putting a few lights in each area to show the customers what they're going to look like. And therefore, they'll be advertising that. If you want to look at those, they'll be in your neighborhood at some point to look at those lights and an opinion back from the customers on how they feel about it. And so that's the end of my presentation. A lot to happen in the next year, but I wanted to make you all aware of that. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Anybody have any questions? Well, then we're going to go on to the Employee Excellence Awards.
No offense, Gabe, but this is the best part
I
of
know.
it. No offense.
You were just the appetizer today.
Yes, you were. This is, as I said, a very special day for us because we get to identify and recognize some employees who've done a great job this year. I want to recognize Susan Edwards, who will introduce today's presentations.
Good afternoon. This is actually the 4th year we've had Employee Excellence Awards, and we have Bruce Anderson to thank because he's the one who brought it to our attention and suggested that we do a program like this, so all of y'all be sure and shake his hand before you leave today. Over the course of that 4 years, we've recognized about a dozen different groups of employees who have done things like major capital projects, downtown Century 2 work, who responded to emergencies, who have done strategic projects for the company like grid modernization or chemical reduction, new innovative products that help us do our job better. We've also recognized about a half a dozen individuals who have done really great work in their chosen field or perhaps delivered some above and beyond service out in the community. And so today we're very pleased to add 6 more groups and individuals to that roster of outstanding employees. They're all represented here, although there are many more who couldn't fit in the room today. So the people you'll be meeting today, and they're outlined in the brochure that's in your folder, are representing a lot of employees who've done a lot of good work this year. Speaking for all of us on the staff, as Ms. Roach said, it is always a great way to end the year to look at all these nominations and narrow it down to a list of folks that we think are particularly deserving, and then we appreciate the chair's involvement in selecting the ones that she particularly wants to recognize on behalf of the board for their outstanding contributions. So we have brought along some help to make these presentations, and that's the folks you see over here along the wall. I will shortly turn the agenda over to them, starting with Jamie Davis, who is our Manager of Underground Construction, Chris Thomas, who is our Manager of Safety, Security, and Technical Services, Doug Miller, who is our Manager of Overhead Construction, Brooke Sinclair, who is our Manager of Gas Systems Engineering, Kendall Stiles, Manager of Customer Support and Key Accounts, and Dennis Newcomb, who is our Manager of Meters. So without further ado, if I could have Nitha and the chair join us up here, and I'll turn it over to Jamie.
Commissioners, the one thing that underground construction does on every job is drive. Both drive to the job and drive away from it, and it's imperative that we do that safely. In 2015, we had a pretty significant accident with one of our newer employees, and as a management team, we decided, we can do a better job of being sure that our employees are trained well, to do a job well, and do it safely in the communities that we work in and around. And so UGC and safety worked together to come up with what first started as our driver certification program for some of our newer employees. And what this did was it helped them obtain their CDL, but it also worked with those folks who maybe weren't used to driving the type of equipment that we operate, and really focus in, work with them one-on-one, give them a peer mentor so that they would know exactly what they need to be working on in order to be able to drive safely. And then once they demonstrated that capability over a period of time, their supervisor would certify that they were okay to drive independently. Well, this past year we decided we wanted to take it to the next level and not only focus on some of our newer drivers, but also some of our tenured drivers, because in good training, there's always something that can be gained. So we worked locally with the Tennessee College of Applied Technology up on Liberty Street. They actually have a certified CDL class, and they have folks that are certified trained professionally, actually in the field of driving. And you'll see one of those instructors there on the bottom left of the slide. They worked with us to customize a program, again, working with underground construction, working with safety, to tailor it really to communities' needs, and then ultimately to the individual that goes through the class. The training has been very well received amongst our department, our construction techs, and so much so that I think we're going to be taking it to other departments inside the company to help with their driving performance as well. We believe it's driving results. You can see on the screen there that in fiscal year 16 we had 5 roadway accidents. It was down to 3 this past year. At the risk of jinxing us, we've been 370 days without a roadway accident. And so we're very tickled about that. We believe the training has indeed played a part in that. There are a lot of folks who contributed to that, but here representing Safety and Technical Services Underground Construction are Kevin Ryan, who's with us today, Ryan Holloway, one of the peer mentors in underground construction, as well as Gary Underwood, our supervisor of natural gas, and also really has headed up a lot of our driving efforts over the years in underground. I want to take a brief moment on Gary too, just to show that you can contribute solidly up into your last day of work at KUB. Gary is about to retire with almost 40 years of service in 2 weeks. And so I want to say a special thank you to Gary for his efforts over the course of his career, and I know you'll want to join in thanking him. I'd like for the team to come up to receive the award.
Congratulations. Congratulations on your retirement. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to be presenting the award for the disinfection conversion project over at Plant Operations. You may remember from our August presentation that we wanted to get out of the business of the use of gaseous chlorine as our disinfectant, but it took a little bit of research and some testing, some evaluations to kind of choose that alternate disinfectant we were going to utilize. So like I told you in August, there was a team that was created in 2013. It was multidisciplinary. Operations, maintenance, engineering, safety, regulatory, and an engineering consultant. We researched all the various disinfectants, made a technical memo, and began to do some plant visits to see what exactly we wanted. As we started honing in on the sodium hypochlorite project, the product that we wanted to utilize, we began to consult with TDEC, gain plans approval from them. They're our water regulator. And then began to do some pilot plant testing at our pilot plant that we have there at the water plant. So construction started in 2016, and just as a side note, we have also transitioned one of our wastewater plants, Eastbridge Wastewater Treatment Plant, over to an alternate disinfectant. And construction's ongoing at Loves Creek currently. This fiscal year will be on a new alternate disinfection. But back to the water plant. It was real important to us to be able to have a very good, solid transition plan. We wanted to be able to maintain operations as we converted off of gaseous chlorine and onto the alternate disinfectant. So we met for weeks on this and really talked about it, really tried to debate it, walked through it several times, and just really took our time to make sure that it had the contingencies that we wanted. And we ended up picking July 26th as that transition date. And so we did an additional notification to the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation on that day, just to let them know, hey, today's our day, we're switching over. And a lot of extra water quality tests, both at our quality control lab at the water plant, as well as our regulatory lab over on Jackson Avenue. So I'm very proud to state that there were no plant, system, or customer issues. Your water that you're drinking today is from that product, and we're very proud of it. But it takes, as proud as we are of our plant, and as proud as we are of that new process area, it takes a team of individuals. It takes the people really to make these things work. So this is the team of individuals, and of course not all these people could be here, but Chris Momredo is one of our lead operators and a real subject matter expert at our plant. Scott Tipton is our SCADA programmer and was real instrumental in making the process work. Ronnie Nash is our operations team lead, and Jimmy England is our supervisor of operations. And Tyler Webb is one of our operators here accepting the award today. And so Tyler's not been with us a really long time in terms of our average tenure of operators. He joined us in 2015. But the reason we selected Tyler to accept this award for the team, he came to me early on when construction was still going on and said, Chris, I really want to be the first person. When that first tanker truck of hypochlorite shows up at the gate, can I be the first one to unload it? And if it's at all possible, can I be on shift the day that we transition over? And he was. He got to be on shift July 26th when we transitioned. So I appreciate that attitude, Tyler, and I hope all our new hire operators that you either teach them that as you become a lead, or that they come in with that like you did. And then Jeff Hueyman is our water plant engineer. And Jeff's been with us since 2000, doing all kinds of water and wastewater support for KUB. And he spent almost 10 years doing some water and wastewater work prior to KUB. He's a licensed professional engineer. He won Outstanding Engineer of the Year award for Knox County and the state of Tennessee in 2015. And interesting thing about Jeff, he had to come into this project midway through. He was not the original project manager who had to leave and go out of state with his spouse suddenly. Jeff came in, and that's not easy to do on a major project. And then early in, the contractor had a line break occur on the water line, and that wasn't easy to handle. But Jeff, we could not have been as successful as we were without you. You were a key, essential member of that team. And so thank you and congratulations. You guys can come on up. Good afternoon, Commissioners. In this past year, our overhead construction employees built a high-voltage Lifeline demonstration trailer. And we built this trailer with one thing in mind, that was to emphasize the importance of electrical safety for the contractors that work on our system, for the media, for emergency first responders in the community, such as our police, fire, city services, our local students here in the community, but most important, our own employees. As you very well know, we have a couple hundred employees that will serve as damage assessors whenever we have a large restoration event. So when the demonstration is performed, it allows the audience to interact, and it allows the audience to see firsthand some of the things that go on our electric system, practically every day. But it's done in a very safe and controlled environment. Now, before our team begins a demonstration, you can see there that we suit up with personal protective equipment. We use hotline tools because safety is paramount whenever we're performing a demonstration like this as well. And then the team will show the audience, what happens when a tree limb gets into a high voltage line. What happens when something as simple as kids' birthday balloons get away and get into the power lines, or a small child flying a kite, something along those lines. So we work very closely with our community relations group here at KUB, and when we get an invitation to come out to the local schools, we try to make all of those that we can. And we also attend and participate in the 4-H electrical camp every year over at the University of Tennessee. And we went this year, but this year it was a little bit different because we were able to take our own demo unit over there. And the team did 12 presentations for a couple hundred students there at UT. In the past, we've had to ask another utility or maybe a contractor to bring their demo unit in. And so that was real exciting for our employees. And it's always neat to see the response from the kids because this is their favorite part of the camp. And it's always neat to see their response when they realize how vital the electric infrastructure is to the community, and also how they can protect themselves and how they can protect our system here at KUB. So it gives me a great pleasure to show a quick clip here of one of our demonstrations where Mike is showing what could happen if you got an aluminum ladder into high voltage conductors. So let's take a look.
The aluminum ladder is, if you were carrying this ladder across your yard and you were to come into contact with the primary cable, to show you what could happen here. The trailer's hot.
A Lifeline trailer like this doesn't come with a blueprint or a plan. This is something that our team kind of had to figure out and tweak to make it work like it should and make it effective. And Michael Bells is accepting the award today, and Mike did a lot of that research for us. He reached out to other places who had a similar unit and did a lot of reading and research on the internet to be able to pull this off, and we're very proud of him. So, Mike, you come up.
Congratulations. Share it with the other group. Don't keep it for yourself.
Thanks.
In 2016, we pulled together a cross-functional team, similar to what you're seeing in these other presentations, to focus on developing, designing, constructing the first public compressed natural gas, long word, so we call it CNG, fueling station in our area. This was great because it really focused on two things for KUB. First of all, it really helped us with our environmental stewardship initiatives because compressed natural gas is a much cleaner burning fuel than gasoline or diesel, so it helps us there. It's also a different type of revenue source than what you might think about because large fleets use natural gas. We're in a perfect area for that to be with all the interstates that are around us. So between those two things, that really made a huge difference in the Knoxville area. We had a team of folks that focused on coming together in 16, opened that station up in November of 16 to our internal fleet so that we could try it out, practice, make sure we knew and could work out all the bugs, because in 2017 we went live with it to the public. This provides that great revenue source. It helps us to get those fleets. If you don't build it, they won't come. It's a situation where we have to build, we have to market, we have to get the fleets here, they budget, and then they'll start using our station. I was really impressed with this team because they had to pioneer something here with we had a very old, antiquated system that was behind the fence. This was going to be something outside, modern, new, commercial grade, had to fuel just as quickly as any other vehicle could fuel at any other station. So that meant, what are we going to have today and what can we expand to tomorrow so that we could right-size that approach and make sure that we had that room to grow. Since we were the first in Knoxville, we did have some peer utilities, some other folks that we could benchmark from. So there was benchmarking, contingency planning, designing. We need multiple feeds of gas to come into the station so we would always be able to fuel. The procurement issues, who's going to build it, and most importantly, how are we going to maintain it proactively so that we have a really great uptime, which is what's important to that commercial fleet. When they get there, they have to know that the fuel's going to be there, it's going to work, and they're going to have to drive to Sevier County to be able to fuel up. The team did a great job. They worked internally. It was a great project that ended on time, on budget, with no safety incidents. The team is pretty large. We do have a few folks that are representing. We have two from Gas Systems Engineering, that's Celine Douglas and Leslie Emerson. We have Jocelyn McIntyre from Safety, Security, and Technical Services who led the project. We had several folks from procurement, electric systems engineering, because there's always that tie back to the system, and then Stephanie Midget from a communication standpoint. They did a great job. We appreciate what they did. Lots of collaboration, ended on time. It was a great project. You ladies will on up.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Good to see you. You have to share it. I'll share. Thank you. You said we're keeping it.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm honored to get to present the Board Chair Award to the Crowne Plaza project team that worked on the Downtown Century 2 project that involved the Crowne Plaza, the Century 2 to upgrade our downtown network. It's a very intense, complex project that required a lot of planning, or at least 12 months worth of planning to organize this, working with the Crowne Plaza, working with various departments within KUB to put this project together. It required a 12-hour outage when we first contacted Crowne Plaza to tell them we were going to have them out of power for 12 hours. They weren't real pleased, and I said that can't be done. So we worked with them, worked on several different dates, and they selected Memorial Day weekend of this past year, which we were kind of surprised that weekend, but they said that outage then would impact the fewest number of customers, because apparently that's not a big weekend for them. So we selected and went forward with Memorial Day weekend. The project required replacing a lot of underground cable, a large transformer, switchgear, automatic transfer unit there at the hotel. And like I said, there were several groups involved: customer support, electric engineering, overhead construction, operations, and underground construction also got involved. As any project goes, you're going to run into issues. And this one did start off as planned, things were going well. Then they found an underground conduit that had been previously damaged. It had been crushed, and they weren't able to remove the cable or to install cable. So they contacted underground construction who came and brought the equipment to help free up the cable and to replace the conduits that were damaged. But on top of that, it's springtime in East Tennessee, and a storm event comes to town. So Saturday, before this work started on Sunday afternoon, the KUB service area experienced a severe storm, large number of outages, a large amount of damage in our area. So there were a lot of discussions as we knew this storm was coming. Do we proceed on with the plan? It's been months in the planning. The hotel's expecting this. What do we do? So we decided to go ahead and do it since the customer's already counting on that time period. So we were able to go forward with the project, got it done on time, even with the problems that we found, underground stepping in, helping out tremendously. But the overhead network crew worked 2 16-hour shifts in preparing for the outage and during the outage to get this done. And then on Monday, they worked another 16-hour shift in storm restoration. So those guys were really busy and worked really hard. So as a comment from the Crowne Plaza general manager, who was pleased with the work and that we got it done on time within that 12-hour period. Today I'd like to present this as a team that participated in the Crowne Plaza project. And today we have Tom Coleman from Overhead Construction and Harley Bryant from Customer Support here to receive the award for the team.
I just want to say a little bit about this board chair award. KUB has so many great employees, it's really hard to make a decision. And there were a lot of projects that KUB worked on in the past year. And as you just saw in this presentation, the construction required at the Crowne Plaza included plenty of challenges. And as always, KUB is up to that challenge. They got the job done despite the challenges that were faced. I selected the Crowne Plaza project not only because of the complexity of the construction, but due to the superior customer service that occurred during this project. There was minimal disruption to the hotel and the customers, and then we had to also factor in our customers that were affected by the storm. So I really appreciate the teamwork negotiation that the Crowne Plaza project team performed. And now we're going to have the next. I couldn't decide on just one, so we did.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I want to take just a few minutes to recognize an exceptional act by one of our own. But many of y'all, I don't know if you know what Zach Hamilton does in the field. Let me turn this on, I'm sorry. Double one. All right. I don't know how many of y'all know what Zach does for KUB, but he's in the field every day. And he visits our customers and performs work on property and has numerous opportunities to make a positive impact on our customers with the work that he does perform out there. His metering knowledge and his customer service skills allows him to do a lot of work for our customers. Some of that work isn't always necessarily what I call work related. I think Zach would agree that many times a lot of this is just being in the right place at the right time to help someone. And in Zach's case, He was en route to a job early one morning, and he noticed traffic, oncoming traffic, had slowed down, and he saw a small child walking the painted center line of a road, and he quickly stopped, secured the child, kept him safe until the family arrived. While talking to the family, Zach learned that the 5-year-old child had run away from his 90-year-old great-grandmother that morning to avoid going to school. And not only that, he had traveled almost 2 blocks before Zach arrived. So Zach's actions exemplified 2 important shared values here at KUB: participating in the communities we serve and valuing the safety and well-being of our customers. For that, Zach, come on up and receive your congratulations, Zach.
I don't think I need a lot of description as to why we honored Zach with this award. You know, a lot of times in today's society, we just sort of walk along and mind our own business. And in this case, there could have been a real tragic result if Zach had not acted the way that he did. And I appreciate him for his heroism. And that's what KUB is all about, is our people go out there every day and don't get recognized for all the things they do. And in this case, Zach, we wanted to recognize you for that heroism. Zach's wife, April, is with us today to honor Zach. Welcome, April. And we also have Ruby Grace with us today, and we've heard her input on several things. and it was spot on, especially with the So congratulations, and I really appreciate being able to be the chair of this organization because we have so many great employees, and those of you that are representing teams, please communicate to your teams how much we really appreciate all of your work.
I can't add much to what has already been said, but I feel compelled to say that first, thank you, Bruce, for recommending that we do this, because it's very, very important for people to know how much their work is appreciated and valued in this organization. I'm the first to admit, and all of these people over here know, that the real people who do the work here are those people, not us. Hopefully we don't get in their way and mess it up too bad, and we let them do what they do every day and do it so well. So on behalf of the board and all the staff, I want to thank all of you all for what you do, as well as the many, many people who are behind you who couldn't be here today. You are, in fact, what makes KUB great. So thank you so much for all that you do. And in that regard, I have someone else to thank today. As you know, this is Commissioner Thompson's last board meeting. So we're going to get through this. It's going to be tough. But 14 years ago, she was sworn in, standing right there. And as you can see, she got the privilege of a second term when she was reappointed. And the only person who's changing that is we have a new general counsel, I think. And as you can see, Nikisha looks the same as she did when she came on 14 years ago. Nikisha and I sort of knew each other before she came on the board, because I lived in the same neighborhood as her parents. And from afar, I watched her through high school and college and admired a lot her family, her parents, and she and her sisters. So it was a pleasure to me when she was able to join our board and be a part of our leadership. So Nikisha came on in 2004, and for those of you who work here, you can remember back That was a tumultuous time, and for those of you who were on the board then, such as Bruce, and those who have come since, you know that a lot has happened at KUB. One of the very first things that KUB did was vote on the selection of the new CEO. I'm most grateful for her positive support that day. I wouldn't be in my job without that vote of hers and the rest of the board. So I kind of feel like Nikisha and I started together. She started on the board and I started as the CEO together. So we've kind of made this journey together, and she has been a great support to me, and I've learned a lot from her over those 14 years. She has been, first and foremost, a customer advocate. Anytime we have a decision to make, her first interest is how's this going to affect our customers, whether it's an investment in the system for the benefit of our customers, or whether it's rate increases that impact our customers' bills. She's also engaged very heavily in the challenges we have. You can see a few of those there, but probably one that was the most challenging was the tree trim issue. And she tried to understand it thoroughly, and then she went and communicated to people why it was so important for us to be able to trim trees for safety and the benefit and reliability of the system. Recently, we created the Rounded Up program. There was no one who advocated for that any more than Nikisha because of its impact on our low-income customers. Getting them the insulation that they need to keep their utility bills low is a way to impact them for the long term. So Nikisha supported that program even when we were just talking about it and wondering if this was something we should do. She encouraged us to do it. Nikisha has been a trailblazer here at KUB. She's the first African-American female on our board and also the first African-American chair on our board. One of the things that Nikisha is very, very good at is her people skills, and she has just made our employees a part of her life. And you can see from these pictures, she's always got a smile on her face. She always greeted employees with a smile, and she always felt like she was one of them. One of my favorite ones is the one right down here in the corner. This is Zach Hamilton, who just got a Do you remember this, Zach? As I understand the story, and I couldn't talk to Nikisha to get the facts correct today because I didn't want her to know about this, but as I recall, you were at her house doing some work, and she came out and took a selfie of her with you because she was so proud, and she called me and she said, "I just sent you a picture. KUB was at my house and I took a selfie and there's the nicest guy." She was so excited. But that's Nikisha. I mean, she actually one-on-one and as an organization appreciates everything that our employees do. And this selfie she sent to me on my phone, and I saved it. It'll probably show up again at your retirement. She's also been a great supporter of our Teamwork program. You all know that Teamwork is about building opportunities for students to have futures here at KUB and elsewhere. Mentorship is a big part of it, and Nikisha has been a part of that leadership. She has advocated for this program ever since she's been on the board. She participates in the program, she speaks to the students, she's engaged with them, and she even continues to have a relationship with them when they go off to college or when they are here at KUB as an employee. When we created the blueprint, Nikisha was one of the people that says, "This is great, this is spot on, this communicates what I believe KUB to be." And many, many times she has made the point of talking about KUB exists to serve its customers. She believes that we believe that, we live that, and that I think that makes her very, very proud. And she uses this not only when she's talking to our employees and out in the community, but also when she's basically in her business. She has taken on that mantra as her job when she is in her business trying to serve other people. Now, we all know Nikisha's great, but believe it or not, we're not the only ones who know that. She has had such an impact on our community in the 14 years she's been on our board. And I'm sure there's things we miss, Nikisha. Again, we couldn't ask you. But we created this list of things that we know you have done while you've been here this 14 years, in addition to everything else you've done, such as your work and raising your family and being a great mom and being a great wife. Nikisha's oldest daughter is graduating tomorrow in logistics. Her name's Brooke, and she is going to work for PepsiCo in logistics. And it is bittersweet time for Nikisha, I know. But she came here with her children, not even out of grade school hardly, couldn't drive a car, and now one is actually graduating from college. So we've all kind of grown up together. One of the things I think that Nikisha is probably most proud of is her Tribute to Women Award. That is an award that YWCA gives each year to women who have impacted our community through their leadership and support of the efforts that the YWCA supports. Nikisha had to tape a video to receive this award. It's a really great video. We don't have time to show the whole thing, but we're showing you a piece of the video because in that video, she is demonstrating her leadership and what a great ambassador she is for KUB and everything she does. So I'm going to start the video.
I am a commissioner with KUB. I'm also the first African American female to serve on that board, and I'm at my second term as chair. I was called up and asked to be on the KUB board, and I said, no, why would they want me? I don't think I can add anything to that. I went to the interview, got appointed. After 14 years later, you don't have a choice but to be a leader. KUB actually not only provides utilities, they actually do community work. So it's embedded in you. If you look at their vision statement, the first 4 words said, we exist to serve. I've taken that and I've created it, I've made it my own.
We will have a new board member here in January who will be sitting there in Nikisha's place. That new board member will never replace you in our hearts. So thank you, Nikisha.
Many of you all know that I am not thrilled about leaving KUB after 14 years. I do believe that that itself is a testament of what a wonderful organization this is. I started thinking about what I would say today, and I could not get it together because of so many things that you all have done in the community, and I thought, man, where is Susan Edwards right now when I need her? However, I chose to just concentrate on what I think KUB's best asset is, and it's truly their people. I want to acknowledge the dedication and hard work that really all of our employees do every day for us, and we see that in the award that just was given out. I want to thank the supervisors, managers, our new directors, we have some new directors, and the executive staff for their relentless, committed leadership to our community and the KUB organization. And you, Madam CEO, President, or as I like to call you, the real boss lady, it has been a privilege and a pleasure to serve on this board with you and really experience what a true servant leader does. And I really, really thank you for that. Bill Coley, thank you for your professionalism and most of all for keeping us in line and out of jail. I appreciate that. Last but not least, my fellow commissioners, past and present. As a ratepayer, I thank you for your service. And this is not goodbye, but it will be see you later. And I thank you all.
Well, we're not finished honoring you. We have Resolution 1372 honoring you, Commissioner, and I would like to ask Mr. Coley to read that resolution.
It's my pleasure. You know, as I was sitting here today, it occurred to me, Commissioner Thompson, that the next time you come back, you'll be sitting over here with these guys.
That's my
I don't know how you should feel about that.
better.
Resolution 1372, a resolution of the Knoxville Utilities Board concerning Nikisha Thompson, who is concluding service as commissioner. Whereas Nikisha Thompson became a member of this board in 2004 and has now served faithfully for 14 years, and whereas Commissioner Thompson supported KUB's accelerated wastewater system replacements in 2004 with the $650 million PACE 10 program, which addressed requirements from the federal consent decree issued to KUB in 2005 and increased KUB's wastewater capital program spending from $1 million per month to $1 million per week. And whereas during her tenure, Commissioner Thompson has been an advocate for Project Help, an emergency assistance program for people who need temporary help with their utility bills. And whereas Commissioner Thompson recognized the need to eliminate the root cause associated with ongoing emergency energy assistance and supported the implementation of Rounded Up, a pilot program which allows customers to round up their monthly utility bills to the next whole dollar to provide funding for low-income home weatherization. And whereas Commissioner Thompson was an advocate for customers, recognizing the balance between the needs of business and residential customers, the need to invest in the system, and the need to manage costs. And whereas Commissioner Thompson demonstrated leadership in the support of long-term funding plans for KUB's Century 2 and PACE 10 infrastructure programs, including the approval of bond issues and rate increases to balance the cost of needed system improvements over both current and future KUB customers. And whereas this funding is aligned for the timely replacement of water and gas mains, overhead and underground electric lines, power poles and equipment at substations, and is already benefiting customers through increased system reliability. And whereas during her tenure, KUB's high-quality bond ratings were upgraded by rating agencies, including a historically high AAA rating for KUB water system bonds. And whereas during her tenure, Commissioner Thompson has been an advocate for Teamwork, an award-winning 22-year-old program partnership with Austin East Magnan High School, which provides school-to-work experience for high school juniors. And whereas during her tenure, 392 students have participated in the Teamwork program, and there are currently 10 former team workers employed full-time at KUB in a range of jobs. And whereas Commissioner Thompson has further distinguished herself and KUB through her involvement with associations focused on making positive contributions in our communities, including the Knoxville Area Urban League, Helen Ross McNabb, American Heart and Stroke Association's Go Red for Women, and the YWCA Keys of Hope, and was recognized for outstanding business and professional leadership in the YWCA's 2016 Tribute to Women. And whereas in addition to her active role as a commissioner during her tenure, she served as the first African American female to serve on the board and as chair of the board, as well as chair of the Audit and Finance Committee and Nominating Committee. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the Knoxville Utilities Board, Section 1, that this board hereby gratefully acknowledges and commends Nikisha Thompson for her dedicated service to KUB, its employees, customers, and our community. Section 2, that the board recognizes Commissioner Thompson's effective service and that the board genuinely regrets that her time on the Board of Commissioners has concluded. And Section 3, that this resolution shall take effect from and after its passage, and that a copy shall be provided to Commissioner Thompson. Signed by all commissioners, approved on first and final reading this 14th day of December 2017. Congratulations.
I know this is just a formality, but do I have a motion to approve Resolution 1372?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Nikisha, for a job very, very well done. I did not know you before I came on this board, and in addition to serving with you as a commissioner, we've also become friends, and I really value that friendship. And here, I've got gavel envy today,
Bling gavel.
because here to honor you is a little token of our appreciation, and it is the most gorgeous gavel I've ever seen.
It's blinky like my earrings. Wow. Thank you so much. I've kind of gone over what I had prepared, but this is bittersweet. I appreciate everyone in this room, and you guys have really added a lot to my life in and outside of KUB, and hopefully more things are come. I'm not saying goodbye, you'll see me from time to time here also, so thank you.
All right, well, you now get to handle some business here on your last day. I'm going to recognize you for the nominating committee report.
Okay, Commissioners, in January, the board elects officers as required by the charter. The nominating committee met earlier today and voted to nominate the following slate of officers for 2018. Chair Celeste Herbert, Vice Chair Jerry Askew, and Secretary Mark Walker. The election of officers will be conducted in January 2018 as required by the charter.
Thank you. Do we have any other business today? Any visitors that want to address the board? Well, following the adjournment of this meeting, the board and staff will have a lunch session across the hall that's open to the public. And if there's nothing further, this meeting's adjourned.